Good morning, everyone. I'm Peg Kelly. I'm instructional designer with Web Services and DMC. For those of you who don't know me or our team, I see a lot of new faces, which is great. Welcome. Thank you for coming. We have, I hope, a great program for you. Our lead group, the folks who are web content managers and kind of run the group, will be presenting what they have seen over the, how many, 50 or so websites we've done in AEM so far, and what they think are some good concepts and good ideas for you guys to think about and perhaps use on your sites. I will be presenting on how AEM handles images and the different components that are used in the software and what you'll want to know, need to know about that, as well as kind of a quick tour of our website and the resources that we have available to you. So welcome, and I'm going to hand it off to Aaron Valdez, David Merchant, and Vanessa Majewski. Thank you.
There we go. Oh, did I turn it off again? This is really touchy. Or responsive. It's really responsive. So hello, everyone. What our lead group did is we took a tour of all of the different sites, and we came from a couple of different perspectives because some of us are already using the new system and some of us are still on open text. And so we're not coming from an expert, this is exactly how you need to do your website, but just, oh my gosh, look what they did. That's really cool. Or, ooh, maybe when we switch over, we'll do that. And
so you haven't switched over.
No.
I switched over about 2 weeks ago, so our site is still like kind of a mess from open text in that transition phase, and then you haven't either.
The sites that I'm working on are in the process of transitioning right now, so I have a bunch of sites that are a big mess at the moment. So this is particularly relevant to me because I need to do some nice things with my sites.
So I guess we can start just looking at some of the home pages we liked. Screen Arts and Culture came up first, kind of on my list, for a few reasons. Number one, I really like their main image, their slideshow image. It just shows that they have, just from a quick glance, that they have so much going on. Also, the site just has a really nice balance to it. As you scroll down to their news, and to the bottom they have kind of a feature section using these rollover buttons. And these seem to be more kind of undergraduate base. They have advising links, production opportunities. They have a whole bunch of awesome guests that come every year that you just don't really hear too much about. So that's nice that they're kind of highlighting it down here. And when I talk about balance for these sites, everything kind of ends at the bottom of the screen is at the same level. So you have everything lining up in a nice grid. I also like kind of the economy that they used in describing themselves. They have one simple paragraph. I know for our department, if you give somebody a chance, they will just write and write and write. So it's really nice to see people being kind of economic with the text. And the thing about these sites is there's just so much more going on the home pages. There's so many more links to me than the open text. So there's just a lot of different ways that you can kind of be distracted. So it's nice just to see everything organized really nice and neatly. Any comments?
I don't have anything to add.
Some things I've noticed, if you're still in open text and you're kind of getting into this, this is the functional menu, correct? If you have more than four links, I think maybe 5 links, it does this weird kind of thing where it, let's see, it'll actually create a little more extra space underneath your logo. And I'm really picky about those kind of things, like everything has to line up. And I know not everybody's like that, but it's interesting to see. There's a lot of little things like that with AEM. So your logo is just slightly off center if you have more things in the functional menu. Or is it here? It's like, okay. So as it's,
So if you didn't catch that, Peg's saying that the strangeness or the weirdness of it is because of the responsive design, and so it's adapting to your screen size.
another thing ScreenArts does really nicely is they have this cool little background image that they chose to include, which it's very abstract. It's in this behind this menu item, but as you scroll down, you see that it's a kind of this cool image of a camera. And some other sites that have really nice background images like that. Semester in Detroit's is super awesome. I immediately identified it from some of their print advertising that I'd seen around also. So it carries throughout all their different media that they use to promote themselves.
So it gives you a more subtle opportunity to brand your site. Because we don't have as many opportunities as some units would like, it is something that you could think about.
Let's see. Another little thing I noticed when I was putting our site together, we have the infamous Be a Victor fundraising box that not everyone loves. If you're trying to get that to be a little bit smaller, I noticed that some sites, you'll notice slightly smaller. And that's just because their department name is changed. So instead of spelling out their entire department here, CGIS just use their abbreviation, whereas comparative literature, so that pushed down an additional line. Just a little thing if you're trying to save space, and that's something that I did when I put together our homepage, is made a shorter name. Okay. So this is Complit's homepage, and something interesting that they did, we don't know if this is on purpose or not, but in their recent news, they aren't using any featured images. So you see ScreenArts, and these images do take up quite a bit of space, and it almost makes your homepage two separate pages to me. Like you get this top part, and if you're lucky enough to get people to scroll down, it's like a whole nother website basically, or a whole nother web page. So, yes.
If you're using the photos, they're set at that size. I don't believe you can change. You definitely can't change the width. I don't think that you can change the height either.
Correct. Right. So by not including those photos, maybe news isn't something that's really emphasized in your particular department.
Or maybe you had a news story with a photo, but you haven't had a news story in a long time, and it's still going to stay on your homepage. You could drop the photo out of it, and it would still be there, but it would be there smaller, so it wouldn't be as emphasized. If you were embarrassed because you didn't have any new news.
I do like that they don't include the date. Like I don't have to look at that in AEM. Whereas in OpenText, I was reminded every time I opened my website, like, oh great, there's news from like a month ago, still there. But anyway, so the recent news, they don't have an image that's going to push all your content at the bottom of the screen up. So if there is stuff down there, which Complit has quite a bit of material below the cut, people might see that a little more easily on a bigger screen, that there's way more content at the bottom and I should scroll down and see what's there. So that's kind of interesting. CGIS was another great homepage that we really liked.
We just really love this photo. I mean, not just love it. There are more things to love, but we were all talking about how much we like this image.
I like the contrast between this and ScreenArts, where they have this image that just has a lot going on. And I don't know, I have a similar image on my website, and when I look at it, it's kind of overwhelming, just all the extra text. So sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's better just to have like a simple single image like this. It's less distracting. So they have a really nice balance on their homepage as well. What I really like is in their recent news, it seems like they have created these headlines and these taglines. I'm not sure the proper names for them. Headlines, taglines. Teaser. Header and teaser. so that the images all line up. So again, this is a responsive site. If you have a headline that only takes up one line and then a teaser that's one line, your image is going to pop up, and then all of a sudden you have like kind of a jaggy layout there.
Well, you see it on screen arts. They don't quite align at the bottom.
Right. So these are kind of off. And it's just a little thing like that at the bottom is more noticeable because it has these borders. But if you take a little bit of time and kind of play with those and make sure that they're the same length, it makes it a little more visually pleasing. Another cool thing is they have an Instagram account on their page, and it just flows right across the page from the news to this Instagram account. And one of the things I like about the Instagram accounts is it doesn't scroll. And I get caught so many times on my website, like I'll scroll down and then get caught in this scroll box. I'm like, oh, I got to go over here to scroll. So I think that's a really neat thing they have going on. And again, they use this kind of grid really well. Everything lines up. They have their video formatted in the same height and width as these quick link buttons. And the quick link buttons are actually look like they're color coordinated, where these orange buttons are about their programs. The green things are kind of like action items. And then the red emergency button. I think it's just really clever the way this is done. And they don't have a little background image for their site, and it's not a big deal, so works fine. It's a nice kind of contrast to this mandatory blue that we have. Okay.
One thing we really liked on the sociology site was how they had previews of their courses by their faculty members. So just short little videos, and as you can see, they're not fancy videos. They're just standing, looks like in their most book-filled hallway. But they're really interesting, and I think they're a great way for students to get a glimpse of what the courses are about in a way that's different than reading on a website.
And so they've created sort of a gallery of course intro videos here.
I think they're all about 1 or 2 minutes long. Looks like it. This one's 2.5 minutes. So yeah, just really short videos. And this is definitely a problem we have on my site at Sweetland, is that our courses pages just kind of duplicate what's in the course guide, and it's almost like, why are they even there? We should just have a link that goes to the course guide. So this is a really smart use of if students are coming to your site to learn more, there's actually stuff there for them to soak up and promote the courses.
Is anyone from sociology here? We're wondering if these are professionally done or just
looking
done by
at them,
someone
I
on
don't
staff?
see any kind of microphones, and it just looks like a simple camera that you could probably rent from or check out from an ISS or someone like that for free. It looks just like a little handheld camera. Zainab? Is she part of the department or? Okay. So just somebody that was an undergrad in sociology. So if you have a student worker possibly who's interested in that, or anybody in the department with a little bit of camera skills could pull this off, I think. All right.
This was a really interesting image gallery, and there were a couple of different examples as we went through. Econ, I think, has a really nice one for their graduation. But I work with a prison creative arts project, and so as an artsy kind of unit, I thought this was interesting to see an actual gallery in the image gallery. So this is American Culture, and they have, it looks like, I forget if it was students or faculty who put together a while ago, a gallery of flags in unexpected places. And so here's an exhibit that you can experience online. So that was a really cool use of this feature. And unexpected for me. I mean, it's called Unexpected Places, but this was an unexpected place for me to find an art exhibit.
So yeah, in AEM, slideshows are out on individual pages. You only have this kind of static slideshow on your home page, and instead you have these galleries that you can set up in a grid, and your options are, I think, to have 4, 8, or 16 images, and it automatically will crop these images. You'll see that these are all different dimensions, but in the gallery they get cropped down so they're all kind of fitting in a nice grid.
And if you have an odd number, it does allow you to, at the bottom, it scrolls to another gallery. Is that correct? It scrolls to another page of the galleries?
I also really just like the entire About Us section for American culture. Again, they're pretty economic with their words. Each page is fairly short. Another thing I really love is the lack of links they actually use in their text. That's something that I struggle with in our departments. Like, we have a website, so we can put a link under research to our research, and we can put a link to digital studies there. But here it's just like, okay, sit down and read the words. You can explore the site if you need to go to those other parts. That you don't have to link everything. This is the only page in there About Us that has links to anywhere else on their site. So I think it's really kind of refreshing to see that. Okay.
So on this one, this was a really interesting way, we thought, another way to use images. But in this case, it's to kind of visually describe the different minors that are offered here in history. I don't know if there's more to say about it other than we thought it was a really cool use.
Yeah, cool use, and another kind of taking advantage of a grid design where their text is the same length on this side as the image that they're using with the link. So just kind of well executed visually. Yeah, so the images, maybe the images alone, if they were linked, you wouldn't know to click on them, but by including these buttons, the button links in AEM, they know that, okay, I can click on that.
Can you click on one? I'm curious.
Now you've done it. Okay, so it goes back to LSA's major minor pages. Cool. What do we want to say about this one? Was this mine?
Was it yours or was it Alicia's?
I don't know. Newsletter
no.
pages. There were a bunch of different newsletter pages. A couple that I really liked. This one again is American Culture. And what's really nice about theirs is they, instead of just having a list of links or buttons, that they actually include small thumbnails of the past issues that they've had. And they have the advantage of having like a really nice design also in these covers. A lot of our old newsletters are just like, basically look like Word documents, so I don't know if I could pull this off. But you could always go back and kind of create custom images. You don't have to use the actual covers to your newsletters.
Yeah, you could pull an individual image from the newsletter and crop it to the same size as the cover and just use that as your sort of link image.
And these all go directly to PDFs, it looks like.
And I like the way they focused the most recent one. They put it at the top larger, and so you'll see that right away. But then if you're curious, you can scroll down and look at the others as well.
The thing that I really liked about Lloyd Hall Scholars Program Alumni and Friends page was this part on the right where it has the 2 buttons for online giving. I know that's something that on our site we have more than one gift fund, and so it's always a question of, well, do we just direct people to the page? And then sometimes I'll get an email saying, I don't understand, like, how do I just give you the money? You know, and so this makes it clear whether you want to give a general gift to support the program or they have a special arts fund if an alum is particularly interested in that. It's very clear, okay, here's where I go. as opposed to just going right to your Leaders and Best giving page, and maybe you have your different gift accounts that your potential donors didn't realize you had.
What's also nice about this page is I think it's one of the only pages I saw that includes the social media component that you can insert in pages. It's the only one I saw kind of outside of the home page. A couple of people might have it on their news and events. But this is a really nice use of putting that social media feed in an alternate page. And then they also have a news feed down here that includes kind of recent news. Seems like they just started it, but just kind of a nice way to highlight news from alumni.
It's kind of like an instant alumni newsletter.
I think we just included this because it was use of a form. A couple of people are using Google Forms directly in their web pages. So this is part of their alumni and friends page, which is also really nicely put together just as a whole section. But alumni can, directly enter their information in here instead of, a lot of people have, just email us. That's just another step somebody has to take to send their information to you. So it's nice to have just the form there they can fill out and submit.
And I saw a couple of those, and some of them asked for a lot more information. The burden was more onerous to the person filling out the form. But if all you want to do is find out where your alumni are, or just that they exist, or get their email addresses, then a simpler form like this might be more enticing to them.
They also had an really nice newsletters page with an image of the most recent, and then again, they didn't go back and do all the images for every newsletter, but a nice kind of grid of links here. Let's see. This is you? Oh, hey, you're here.
Okay. Hi, I'm Alicia. Sorry I'm late. I had another meeting. This one I just thought was really pretty in terms of the way that all of the, if you scroll down, those nice boxes had the ghosted kind of labels over it, and then of course it connects to a bunch of different units on campus. So it was, I am not in AEM to know, but I assume this is like a four-button format, so I thought it was a nice use of that. That's all.
I thought it was really cool too how they used the building images. That's a nice way to make a consistent look. I know sometimes in our program we struggle with, well, how do we represent this place or this concept, and then you end up with some photos of people and some photos of hand drawing, or and here it just makes it really clean, the way that it's consistently the image of a building.
Right, and I'm not sure where they got these images. They look pretty
really nice.
professional, so I would gather that these were taken by professional photographers here somewhere, and there's a database or something somewhere of these. I don't know.
What happens when you move the cursor overnight?
It goes to a color, and you can choose what color this hovers to, but it's not like the old rollovers where you go to another image, or so it just goes to a color. Was this you as well?
And really, it's just more of the same. Another nice use of a two-column layout with some visuals, and I think again those, if you click on the pictures, they connect to the pages that describe the areas of research. Oh, okay. Even more creative then.
Is this how 4 columns break down? Okay. Yeah.
So 2-column with a text and image. And then were you going to point out the find an expert? I think that was another thing that we thought was cool.
Yeah, well, another thing I liked about this page is they created these images, but they sort of, I don't know if they planned this or not, but they modeled it almost after the kind of layout and even the font of these pages. The all caps and the font looks very similar, so it's kind of consistent within their site. The find an expert link?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just in terms of promoting your department. I mean, if you've got this wealth of resources, this is a nice, quick way for people to find out. And I assume you've talked about the same idea with alumni on the job, or not alumni, but senior students. Some of the pages would have, who's on the job market, and they would have similar links. So here it's just nicely organized by topic and then links to the faculty bios.
Yeah, and then their pages are complete. They have their own websites and just a lot of content. Cool. Sure. That might have been kind of copied and pasted maybe, and it carried over. That's what I'm thinking. I'm getting a very stern look from Peg, so not recommended, possibly.
Possibly just not using the AEM has three ways that you can paste. You can paste from Word, you can strip everything out. So it must just be a control C and a control V. Without using any of the pasting options.
I haven't been able to reproduce that at all. It might have come directly over and have not been touched since the transition. Yeah.
Oh, it could have been an open text error that then compounded over here.
So piece of advice then, when sites migrate, double check the formatting? Always. Always, says Peg.
Yes. Yeah, so people pages definitely look at that. I think ours also, when they came over, they just had a line that said education, and none of the information was there because I was using a different field, I think, for education. But for some reason, that word education came over. So there might be a little bit of cleanup you have to do with formatting. And I guess that's it. We started looking at sites maybe 3 weeks ago. So if your site wasn't on here, or you were making the transition, that's maybe we didn't get a chance to look at your site. But by and large, they were really nicely done. And
Yeah, and these were just some things that leapt out at us as particularly interesting or well done or worth emulating or keeping in mind as we worked on our own sites.
And one other thing, so you've all migrated, right? No, you didn't. Oh, okay. Because I found, as someone who hasn't migrated yet, just popping in and out of a bunch of different sites was a really good education about what's available, how it's being implemented, and and maybe even what not to do. Because I'd looked at some of the sites were doing stuff that I'm currently doing on our old open text site, and I was like, oh, that doesn't work as well as some other things I'm seeing. So I would suggest look around at a bunch of sites and just get a feel for what they can look like.
And I would think if you see something that you like and you don't know how they did it, you could contact the web services people and ask them how to explain what is this format that's being used here.
Yeah, I will talk about that. In your preliminary meetings, you have a lot of opportunity to talk with your web content coordinator and to structure your site in the way that you have some ideas. We're happy to implement. We like as much input from you in that process as we can get. So we appreciate if you do take that opportunity. And when I talk about our website in a moment here, there is a link to all the sites. There are links to all the sites that we've put into AEM on our site. So it's an easy place to go, and you can just click, 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 and look at all the sites directly from our website. So thank you very much. That was great. You actually did a lot of front-end work for me in images because you showed a lot of images and the way that you can use images in AEM and the ways that people are using them creatively. So I appreciate that. I am going to put the mic down for a second. Okay, good to know. I am going to go to our training site. walk you all through. Hmm? Yeah. Isn't that nice? Yeah, usually you just go right to it. Oh. Okay. Let's just start over. So whoever logged in before here, that's what you're telling me, Josh? Gotcha.
Anybody else have any questions? I know like Josh from CGIS is here, so if anybody has any questions about what he did on his site.
I know, there are a lot of times where we have events where sorry, there's a lot of time where we have events where we might not have a location, but we want to get it up on the web, and doesn't seem like there's a to be determined option when you're creating an event. And I don't know if anybody else has run into that. You sort of have to pick a building or offsite location, and so I don't know if other folks have dealt with that, or I put in a request through the website to add a TBD option, but I don't know if anybody else has run into that.
All right, we have that will be nice. So we could probably talk to our contact and campus information about that. So with partnering with them, there's some sort of limitations to what we can do and how turn around with them, and a lot of it has to do with like how general they can apply it to all their clients, not just LSA. Any other questions? You're good?
I'm good.
Okay, cool. And I think you can use that mic.
Yes, I will use. Okay. Do I have to stand real close, or can you hear me? I'm good. Okay. Thank you. So I just did a quick few pages on the training site to talk about image terminology. Now, for some of you, of course, if you're still in open text, this is not gonna jive real well. But for those of you already in AEM, some things that we've changed about image components and a couple fields that might have not been covered in training. So you'll see them and you're like, I wonder what this is. But as I said, our colleagues did a great job of showing different ways that images can be used. This one being the gallery component and just showing 4 images. So you can select 4 images, 8 images, 16 images. It's very easy to put together a folder in AEM, and then you just point to that folder and it creates this gallery, and it's very simple, a lot less intensive than OpenText. So the terminology I just want to cover a little bit. The way that images are treated in AEM, you can upload an image. We like you to think about image sizes before you upload a 5 megabyte image to the system. I mean, that just takes up a lot of space and it churns, and you don't need it. So, but there are times when you don't have time to, shave down a 1 megabyte image. You can upload it, and because of the responsive design, AEM treats it as, the largest size is that slideshow, the homepage slideshow size that you see on most of the sites. You can put an image this size elsewhere on your site. We don't recommend it because, as you see, it takes up a lot of space on your page, and we're always dealing with economy of pages and wanting to get as much content on this page as possible. but you can do it. But this is really, this image is 1078 by 768, or 1024 by 768. So that's really, and it looks pretty nice, right? So, and responsively, it's always going to look, I always have trouble doing this, there we go. You know, that's the beauty of the system does that all on its own. You don't have to upload all these different sized images for responsive design. It just constantly changes on its own. Part of uploading a large image and using it, there are different ways that it can be presented because of the column functionality in AEM. You can break a page into, you can have a single column to start with, the way I have here, and I just, a little sentence about, you know, it's really, the program's really design friendly, which means it requires a little more explanation, or exploration. I think, Aaron, you might agree with this, that there are certain things, the way that you liked how things lined up on those different sites, that's not something that you're just going to be able to do in a minute. You know, you got to take a little time and size things accordingly. But it's really worth it because of the results that you get. So that's just my little message to you. So here again, you can put an image like this on a page, but when you do so, you need to tell the system, this is a large image and I want it to be shown at its highest resolution. So I'm going to go back to image terminology, and there is a transform quality field in the image with crop component and the text component. The text component allows you to add images to it, but that was done after the fact. It was something that our developers did because there wasn't a single component that allowed you to add multiple images with text, right? So there's an image and text component. There was an image with crop component. There's an image with caption component, but they hadn't thought of one that allowed you to just put multiple images in it. So the text component allows for multiple images, but what we did in that transformation is to add this field so that when you are adding a thumbnail size image to some text, you only need it to show as little, right? So you correspond to the transform quality of the image that you're adding. If you're adding, like I did on that page, you want it to show as extra big. So we've got little regular free crop, big free crop, extra big free crop. The free crop is for those components that allow for cropping or that require cropping, which would be the image with crop and the captioned image. So this is more detail for a lot of you that aren't in the system yet, but I just wanted to let you know that there is a way to control how those images appear when you are uploading them and putting them in components. We've had some feedback from people that the resolution isn't great on some of their images, and I think I haven't done a good enough job explaining this particular feature of the image component, which is the transform quality. So knowing when you're adding a particular size image. Now it's not real specific, big, extra big, but if I can, I will show the one column, the single column. This one obviously qualifies as extra big. This is a text and image component, and this is what you would consider to be a big image. And then this more of a small image, or regular. And this would be regular as well. So this page, I don't recommend that you do this with your website, but I just want to show you could do this with your website. This is another thing. I don't recommend you use the image with captioned image component in a single column, but I'm going to show you a 2-column page in a moment, and it works really well. Now this is something that our web content coordinators, one of our web content coordinators said that she likes this component best, the text and image component. allows you to choose a small, medium, or big-sized image here, so you can have, and the small, medium, big correlates to, small is 1/3 column, so this one is set to small, and it takes up 1/3 of my 1 column space. This next one is set to medium, and it takes up, roughly about half of the column. And then this final one is set to large. This is the same component, text and image, but you can specify the size of the images within the component, depending on how much you want to feature. And then the 2 column. Again, here's a, it's an image with crop component. So this is a 2 column page, and this is a single component that has an image, and then it has the caption underneath it, which is the description field. And it's got correlating text. So there's a couple ways to do this. As you saw in the 1 column, I've got this going on here, and then you can break the page into 2 columns and have a single image with text alongside, or 2 images side by side. Here is that image with caption component, captioned image component in a 2 column format. So that gray box is a feature of the captioned image component, and generally it looks better in a 2 column format. So that's what you'll find as well. There are so many components in AEM that you kind of have to, it's part of the learning curve to figure out what looks best on a page. And it was part of our learning curve as well. So I try and let you know in training, here's what we've seen works best, but there is additional exploration that you will do. And then finally, a text and image component in a 2 column, and the setting for the image size really correlates to the size of the column that you're working with. So this is a 2 column format. The image is set to medium, which means it's going to take up half of the column. So again, it's all kind of built into whatever format you're using. The images are going to correspond however you choose to make them correspond. So I'll just go back to that initial page again to show you the other drop down, which is the screen size drop down, and that's the small and medium and large that I was talking about. The screen size drop down appears in the text and image component, and as well as the text component, and it allows you to change the size of the image within the component. So that's how you can line up your text best depending on the size of the image. And so you can choose that large, medium, or small option. Again, there are, as you saw, 4 button components that have image functionality, and there's the gallery that also uses images really well in AEM. That's what I wanted to talk about in terms of treatment and transform quality and screen sizes. Any questions on? Yes.
So if I add a few images,
Mm-hmm.
what size should those
The featured news, the images in featured news, generally you want, again, it doesn't have to be higher than what I said, the 1024 by 768. If it's high resolution, resolution is, for the web, they say that 72 is all you need. But we found 300 DPI actually looks better. So, and then in the news component, there isn't a transform quality. So I think higher resolution images are going to be, you're going to be better off with that.
We're having the same issue for our
Are they people or are they? Yeah.
the picture itself, even with
Yeah.
Even just a screenshot of the faculty member.
Okay. And it's a.
But I didn't change the, I mean, I imported it from my camera.
Mm-hmm.
So I can do this all on Pilot's camera.
Yeah.
And it's-
Okay. Well, that's
Small picture was fine, but then if I put it as the article.
right. Oh, so using it on the news article page in that big.
That is one way.
Yeah, and then as the featured on the home page.
Yeah, and as a little icon.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to give that feedback to our developer because, as I said, this transform quality isn't a part of the news, and maybe we need to make it part of the news image functionality. Good question, though. Thank you, Jocelyn.
What would you suggest the layout if we wanted to do the 4 buttons
Mm-hmm.
component, but we have more than 4 and it's like 6? What would you suggest? Because we really like the layout of it.
Right.
You have a picture, you have the rollover. What would you suggest?
I would.
The same sort of setup, but not having a multiple 4.
Mm-hmm. So you've got 6.
Yeah, 6 or 7 that we want to use. So I think the 4-button component, like you have to have 4.
You do.
You have to have 8.
Right. So there's a the columns. 3 column is a large left or a large right. So you're going to have kind of a wider column on the left. Like in open text, we used to have large left, large right. Nobody used them, but they were there. So I'm trying to think of, yeah, that would be great. Thank you. So I'm thinking you could put 3 and 3 if you divided the page into a large left or large right. You could have 3 images, use the image component and drop 3 images on and link them so they would look like buttons. Here you go. So that's, there you go. Jeff.
So this is large right?
Yeah.
Yeah, large right. And so this is on one column. This is the second column, and this is the third column. They chose to use it buttons. You can choose to do like a body of text, and there's also a large right version of it too. And I believe what they use is an image with crop component for these buttons, so to speak. And then they had created the buttons. So the thing with using this format, though, you have to kind of create your own buttons and maintain them. But yeah, then they link off to other areas. And then you can also use like the 4-column structure and use the same thing and just not, fill the all 4 columns. It'll be about the same width, except here you will have 2 more columns to use. Columns. Mhm.
Oh, the column structure? Just drag it onto the page.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you talking about like having a 4-column and then underneath that a single column, or and then this? Oh, you would have to change it to a 4-column structure. Yeah. Yeah, and then just basically everything kind of moves to the right, and then you just click and drag to however you wanted to play. Yeah.
You guys know the sites better. All right, so with the remaining time, I will take you to our web. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, no problem.
Sorry to take this
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way with the still the slideshow on the homepage doesn't change automatically?
Correct.
Is there a way to every time someone clicks on it to have it change, or anything quicker, or?
No, I'm sorry. We are working on, our developers are working on the next iteration of this software. So this is early days with AEM, but we'll take all that feedback. We've had some feedback about the slideshow being a little stagnant. So embedding, what was the, embedding a Flickr? Okay. It's all got to be accessible. Okay, so that's the primary focus of a lot of our web design, is making it accessible for every user, no matter what. And so that's why it doesn't rotate any longer, because that's not an accessible feature for people with visual impairments or other impairments using software. So it's got to be fully accessible.
So one note though, if you do want to, like if you're tired of the same image always coming up, like if you're in the system, you can always go to your slideshow and then just pick another picture to be the first one. So that's another way to kind of keep it fresh.
All right. Anyone else? Great. Okay, so our site is Web Services. And it too is a work in progress, like a lot of the sites in AEM. The area that I was talking about where you can see all of the sites that we have put together is under AEM websites on our homepage, on our top, our functional navigation. So we've broken them into the different areas. So humanities, the programs, sites that we've done, the social sciences, the natural sciences. There's also this nice A through Z listing. So if you're more of an alphabetical type person, there you go. This really is more about kind of the process. If you are chomping at the bit, Sean, to go next with AEM, you could come through this portal and walk through the website request process and at least know what we're kind of expecting of you when your site moves into AEM. And then we've also got our the additional platform, one of the additional platforms that we work with, WordPress, for faculty, labs, and research websites. So those folks in your department who are asking for websites, we also do that work. And let's see, news and events. I generally post these sessions on the website as soon as they become available. So if you're looking for past sessions that you weren't able to attend, they are available here. Also some news items that I've created. Always our upcoming events, labs, and training sessions for both OpenText and AEM. Our people. Yay. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So we have members of our department who are interested in taking the training,
Mm-hmm.
but they're looking for training options outside of this particular month, so they're trying to plan ahead.
Right.
Do you only kind of post the training sessions for just that month?
Pretty much. It's been a little tricky, just in that I don't want to give a training session for one person. So this week I had to cancel 2 sessions because I only had one person sign up. So I apologize for that, but that's kind of the way the process has gone. And now that we're working on 17 International Institute sites, we're looking forward to those next sites that are coming up, but I don't really have anybody. Now that you're telling me we've got additional people to train, I know I'm going to add some sessions, but it's kind of been a week by week who's coming up next. So if you feel free always to contact me and say, we'd like, you could have a session for just your folks. Okay, so it's kind of a more of a asking at this point because we don't have other people in the queue who need to be trained right now because all of II has already been trained. So just shoot me an email. But any upcoming sessions will always appear here. And if they don't work for your schedule, there is a link under training to contact me directly. At least there was. I must have moved. Oops. I'll put it back. The training section just breaks down the different types of training that we have available. Our Google Analytics is more of a on-demand and kind of you will meet with our Google Analytics staff member, Maria. She'll walk you through your dashboard, and then it's kind of a as-needed support. She's got a lot of documentation that's really, really well put together. Open text, yes, we still do open text training. And MailChimp is also kind of been relegated to our support open labs, but is definitely still available for those of you who are looking to do newsletters using MailChimp. And then the AEM training. So this is where you want to direct your staff who need to be trained. You can register right on the website. Other support for AEM, we've got our Open Labs schedule, and then we've pretty much broken down the different components of training and put them up by subject, so tagging content, the site configuration aspect, and then moving content around, some troubleshooting, how to add content, activate. So that's for, after you've trained and you're wondering, I don't remember exactly how and I can't find my book, where do I go for information? You can send us a ticket always, but it's also here on our site. So the Developers Corner is our developer, Chris Rockwell, does a really nice job of keeping everyone up to date on when updates are made to the software and releases are pushed. He talks about what has been updated. Also, a great description of how AEM works from a developer's perspective, and how the caching works. And this section is about to undergo a little bit of an update because we've updated how profile updates work, but I'm not sure how many of you know that we have rolled out the feature that faculty can, in fact, update their own profiles. Yes, and there's, in the new release that we're rolling out, Sean, on Friday, direct on everybody's profile page, there'll be a little pencil, and they can click on it. So they don't have to remember a different URL to get to an editing page for their profile. There'll be a little pencil under their picture that they can click on. It opens up the fields that they can edit, and then they just submit those edits. So it's a work in progress, but it's definitely something that I think people are going to like a lot. Open text support still exists. Rick? I'm sorry, it said all LSA people, faculty, staff, and students, graduate students, usually are the only ones that are on websites, but anyone in AEM with a profile in AEM. No. Yes. Existing profile. Yep. So we've ported over our open text support, and then a little bit of information about the LSA Web Editors Group, of which this meeting is, and some recent videos. Again, this is where I will post today's video, but a great place to go back because there's always good content discussed at all of these meetings. So if you ever miss one, this is where you can come and watch the video. So is there anything specific that I can tell you that you need to know about AEM and its support? Anything you've hoped for that's not available or would like to have in the future from us? Okay, I guess we're doing a good job. All right. Any final questions before we wrap up today? Psychology. Boom, boom. There you go. Yeah. Yes. And Carol, if you spend some time with events.umich.edu, that'd be a good use of your time too. Yeah. Great. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you.
you.